Hi, my name's Allison Pace, and I'm a counselor here with the Abundant Life Institute. Today I wanted to tell you a little bit about one of my favorite grounding activities. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding activity. You may have heard of it, it's pretty popular, but I kind of wanted to share how I do it and allow this video to be a tool for my clients and anybody else that's curious about this grounding activity. The reason why I like this grounding activity so much is because it's a way of communicating to our body that we're not in danger, and it can provide a way for us to calm down from highly anxious moments. Sometimes our rational brain and our body don't do a good job of communicating. Sometimes we might see something that's distressing, something might trigger us, or it might even just come out of nowhere. Maybe we're thinking of scenarios in our heads and we just kind of amp ourselves up and our body responds to that. Rationally, you might find yourself thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I so anxious? Where is this coming from? And this provides a way for you to communicate using all 5 of your senses that you're not in danger, that you're okay. So to begin, I ask you to just get into a comfortable position, whether it's sitting, standing, laying down, just make sure that you're comfortable. One thing that I would like to emphasize is that everyone is different. If you notice that you're engaged with this activity and you notice that your anxiety is increasing or that your discomfort is increasing, you're becoming more distressed, just stop. Don't continue the video. It's okay. Everybody's different. And if you're not engaged with a counselor, I would encourage you to find somebody that you can talk to help regulate your anxiety and get it down to a more controlled level. First, I'd like you to start off with finding 5 things that you can see. Now, something about this activity is I didn't ask for the 5 most interesting things that you can see. I didn't ask you to find the 5 most big things that you can see. It can be literally just any 5 things. So for an example, I might choose a lamp. I have a llama fixture in my office. I might say my mouse. Any 5 things will work, whatever you see. And then this is a really important piece that I find that a lot of people skip over. And frankly, I think this is the most important piece. I want you to describe each of those things in as much detail as you can muster. And so sometimes I ask my clients to actually sit there and almost describe it like to somebody that can't see, and describe it as much and as well as you can. And it's okay to wrestle over your words if you're struggling to find the exact word. I just really want you to focus on it in the moment. So as an example, I'm just going to pick one because I don't think you want to listen to me list off 5 things in their excruciating detail, because this can take a little bit of time. But as an example, I've got this little squishy brain thing here. It's a stress ball, if anybody wants to know. And so to describe it, I'm going to use sight words. I'm not going to talk about how squishy it is. That would be if I were touching it. But I'm going to use sight words. It is a kind of bright green. I notice that it has texture over it, ridges and lines that make it look like a brain. There's a little line across the bottom part of the brain where it was molded. There's some black text and an emblem from an association that I'm a part of. It's actually breaking a little bit in the middle from use. It's actually slightly shiny. I notice the lamp light is shining on it and I can see it reflecting. That's not a comprehensive explanation, but I think it's fairly thorough. And so being able to look through and notice each of the things about what you're looking at is an important part of this. So now you can go ahead and pause the video and name off your 5 things and explain them in very detailed fashion. Now that you've named your 5 things and described them in your visual field, now we're going to move on to 4 things that you can touch. And so, like with my little brain here, you would describe it in a touching way. So I'm not going to talk about how green it is because I can't feel green, right? Maybe some people can, but I can't. And so I'm gonna rub my hands over the brain, and I notice, okay, I feel the texture. I feel that it's actually quite smooth when you're not hitting one of the ridges. It's slightly cool to touch, and actually remains a little bit cool as I have my hand over it. And notice, like, while I'm describing it, you don't have to do this, but I find it helpful. I'm not looking at the object because I'm trying to notice, okay, what does this touch? What does this feel like? So now you go ahead and you can name, it can be literally any 4 things. You might not have a brain with you. Well, you do have a brain with you, but you might not be able to touch your brain. But you can use your hair, you can use your clothes. I'm sitting in a chair, I could use my chair, desk, any 4 things. So now go ahead and pause the video and find your 4 things and describe how they feel. Now that you've done that, let's move on to the 3 things that you can hear. Usually I find it helpful to close my eyes when I do this. And sometimes we become accustomed to the sounds that we hear and we might not notice all of the sounds. And so closing my eyes and listening, I hear sounds of cars in the distance. I hear the rumble of the AC. And I hear the sound machines in our office. And picking one of those things and describing how it sounds. And so, for instance, I'll pick the sound of the sound machines in our office. They sound like waves. I hear a louder noise and it almost like rolls into a softer noise, just like if waves were crashing on the beach. It's almost like a fuzzy sound. And one thing I will say about as we progress in this, like with sounds, our language doesn't always capture what it sounds like exactly. And so we use words like fuzzy for a sound, even though fuzzy is a texture. That's okay. You can do that. What's important is I want you to notice and recognize, what does this sound like? And again, trying to convey that to somebody maybe that can't hear. So now go ahead and pick your 3 things that you can hear and describe them in detail. Now that you've done those 3 things, now we're going to move to the 2 things that you can smell. Again, you might be acclimated to your room. You might not, or the space that you're in, wherever you're watching this, you might not notice any smells. And that's okay. You can find something. Maybe if you have long hair like me, maybe you can smell your hair. Maybe your clothes have a scent. Maybe there's something nearby that you can grab, like a candle, or maybe you're wearing a perfume, or a cologne, or like me, I have chai tea here. And so I can grab this and smell it and describe it. Whatever's convenient for you. And again, wrestling with the language of it. So the chai tea is almost like it's a spicy smell. It's very robust. It's very bold. It's almost got a sweet smell. I smell like the cinnamon, or the cinnamon style. I don't know if there is actually cinnamon in it or not, but that smell, it's almost reminiscent of holiday season for me. And really just wrestling again with those words. And again, I know the language is limited. It's okay that it's limited. I just want you to notice what it smells like. So now you go ahead and pause the video and find those 2 things that you can smell and describe them in as much detail as possible. And the last one is taste. Again, you might be acclimated to whatever taste you have in your mouth. You might have mints convenient. You might have some gum. You might be like me again with the chai tea, or if you have a coffee or some other kind of drink that you enjoy. You can take a sip and notice that. What does it taste like? Sometimes it's helpful for people that are able to recall, like maybe the taste of a favorite food, and really just noticing it and paying attention. What does it taste like? And so again, with the chai tea, because that's what I have convenient for me, it's got a creamy taste because I put creamer in it. And then there's almost like a really rough taste that comes after. It's not unpleasant, but it is bitter. It is strong. Again, with the really strong cinnamon-like flavor in the tea. It is, and I might even notice the temperature of it is actually quite cold because I've had it for a little while. And just really wrestling with it and noticing it with all of your presence in that moment. So now, if this is your first time doing this activity, I want you to reflect and think, what were you thinking about while we were going through this process? Were you focused at all on those anxious thoughts? Or were you focused on what was happening in the here and now, focusing on those little things? And sometimes our anxious thoughts are very intrusive, and sometimes they try to interrupt when we're in the middle of trying to ground ourselves. And you can train your brain to get to where it's more so focused on the here and now. But ideally, when we're going through this, we are focused on showing our body that we're not in danger. Because the fact of the matter, when we're in danger, if we're actively in danger from something, we're not going to sit down and name 5 things that we can see, 4 things that we can touch, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. That's not a safety thing. And so oftentimes it does help calm our body down. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. Everybody's different. This is just a tool that does work for some people. I hope this activity was helpful for you. And if it was, I encourage you to share it with somebody that you know. They might find it helpful too. Thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to remind you to embrace abundance.